A very good day to you and welcome back to this YouTube platform where we keep the conversation smooth and truthful. And even before we start the show today, let me welcome the man himself, Mr. Professor Herman Manyora on set. How are you doing, sir?
Oh, wonderful, Simon.
Okay, just before the show, you're having a conversation with Mambo Safi.
Yes.
And you are telling them, you are giving them quite some positive feedback. You
Yes.
being a client for Mambo Safi.
Yes.
How are the services?
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. If you want your suit done, all type of linen, Mambo Safi is the place to go.
From carpet
And they are affordable. And
to furniture.
Yeah.
They do vacuuming for all this. Well,
Yes.
if you're wondering how do you get to Mambo Safi, we are going to put the contacts down below and you can contact them. They offer quite wonderful services, as Professor has said. Well, let's dive into today's conversation, or rather today's question. And let me quote you. You are doing an episode with Jadel and you said if they make mistakes, if they make the same mistakes that they are making, they will lose the election. This statement you are addressing, maybe you are referring to Azimio people, okay? Now, what are these key issues that Azimio people need to address in order to win the August 9th general election? Because people are arguing and saying that Ruto is doing quite well when it comes to promoting his agenda to the people. Now, let's maybe start with organization. People are saying that they are disorganized. That's why people like Alfred Mutua are walking out. Some people threatening to walk out if their requirements are not met.
I think I've said this before. That you don't see much organization when you look at Azimio. They seem not to be working with the established structures. And an election in this day and age is a science. It's akin to going to war just because you have military hardware. You lose the war. War is a science. You have to approach it as a science and exploit the benefits of science. So is an election. I've always said it's a testimonial to how much Raila is popular, that without much organization, without any structures, Raila is able to attract the numbers he attracts. One wonders the kind of numbers Raila would attract. If he ran an organized, well-structured campaign, it will be impossible to beat. So, well, he's doing well, but he needs to embrace the science approach. Science, in terms of you must be organized, you must have clear structures, so that you can then, if you also have structures, you minimize the human ego issues. You see, when you come to me as an individual, it's different to you coming to a structure, an organization, to an office. You know? So if people like Mutua had issues and there were structures, functional structures, they will be dealt with at that level, at the level of organizational structure. But if they listen to you, maybe you are tired, maybe you are moody, maybe there are so many people also talk, you are not even giving them attention. Human beings require attention.
Okay.
So if you have structures, which is what I'm advocating for Azimio to have, then within those structures, there will be an ear to listen to Mutua. There will be an ear to listen to Kibwana. And they may not take the route. Some of the people like Kingi, if people had listened to them, I know some of them already wanted to go. But even when you talk to people, you reduce the excuses, because what Kina Mutua are giving are excuses.
Okay.
They will still have gone anyway, but perhaps they would have made much more, they would have made fools of themselves much more than they have done.
Okay.
Because if you have listened to somebody, you have tried to exhaust the issues, they will need to look for other excuses. And the more they come up with excuses, the more foolish they look. And that's in your interest. Yeah.
Now, before One Kenya Alliance joining Azimio la Umoja, by then Azimio la Umoja, there seemed to be order in Azimio. Now, was Kalonzo the biggest mistake that Raila made by bringing him in?
People have argued Kalonzo was a big mistake. Because he was already out. Then these things of Kina Mutua and the rest may not have come, but I doubt so. Kalonzo is an asset to Azimio.
How about the demands that he's making?
The problem is the image of a complaining Kalonzo that is being exploited by the enemy camp.
He's being referred to as a 50-50 guy.
Yeah, this man is being what? He's being harassed. He's not valued. is being short-changed. Oh, Kalonzo is too senior to go for the Rigathi Gachagua words, you know. They're exploiting that to incite the Ukambani vote, so that that doesn't work in favor, so that the Ukambani people don't quite vote for Azimio. But still, you can only underrate Kalonzo at your own peril.
Now, was it a mistake for him coming into Azimio?
As a person, no. Well, he had no option.
Okay.
He doesn't fit with Kenya Kwanza. Look at how awkward Mudavadi looks in UD. He doesn't fit. He's supposed to be too senior to work under Ruto. You see, boys under Ruto are doing quite well and they are fitting there. Small boys and girls. But him now. Aye.
So what you're saying is that Musalia Mudavadi
So Kalonzo would not have fitted in UDA.
Okay, on that you've mentioned maybe Musalia Mudavadi is playing a boys' game where
Yes.
he should be playing a man's role.
Yes. Because here is a man. Sometimes I look and say, we overrate these politicians. If I had half, not even half, an eighth of the advantages Mudavadi has, who would stop me from being president of this country? Look, Luhya votes are so many, both at home and Nairobi and diaspora. Almost 3-4 million votes. Why do you leave your home to go and put up a small house in Ruto's compound? Why don't you just become king of Western and everybody will come looking for you? Raila will come looking for you. Ruto will come looking for you. As you sip your cup of tea or your whiskey, those who take whiskey, Shivas, the king of the Mlembe nation. Now you want to be a boy in somebody's compound. This is...
Okay, let's go back to on track and
Yes.
let's look at communication within Azimio as an issue that needs to be addressed. Communication within members. We see members disrespecting each other even on public platforms. Now, how do you address this issue?
You know, I said structure. Once you have structure, it addresses everything.
Okay.
Where are you going to campaign is not ad hoc. Of course, there will be 1 or 2 times you'll do ad hoc. But where are you going to campaign? Why are you going there? Why today and not tomorrow? Why next day instead of today? What is taking you there? What message are you going to say there? How do you say that message? Who will be tasked with saying what part of that message? This is how it is supposed to be done. Not just people going to the platform and when you see a crowd, you're excited and you say everything you want to say. No. Elections must be viewed as a science.
On communication, we
Yes.
have under communication, we have online communication.
Yes.
And you're an expert when it comes to
No, they are
online
doing well. In the
communication.
digital space, they have begun doing well. They were so behind, but now they have a presence in social media.
Now, when we compare
And especially Raila as a person, he's being marketed so well in the digital space, so well. I wouldn't even imagine. I saw him driving, and some lady was interviewing from the media, and he's driving. That was marvelous. I asked, and I was told it was Winnie. Ask who did this. Some expert from UK. I said, no, Winnie. That was wonderful. And from then on, the way he dresses, the language on his Twitter handle, or, Facebook, you see, at that level, they are doing perfect. I can't do it better.
Okay.
I won't even match them.
Okay, now let's
Yes.
look at propaganda as a form of communication. And people are arguing and saying that propaganda is used to paint perception, and perception is used to win numbers. Now, in terms of perception, we can see William Ruto, people arguing and saying that he is good in addressing his agenda using propagandas. We can see examples of him going somewhere in Western, taking a good photograph and painting a perception of good numbers attending him. Should Raila focus more on propaganda as a way of campaigning?
You know, you must sympathize with Raila. The kind of person Raila is, his stature, his past, cannot allow him to do some of these cheap things these people are doing. It will be very difficult. He better lose an election. You don't expect Raila to throw cheap propaganda on the ground, populist phrases. No, he can't do that. It can't be the Raila we know. So, yet you need to do a bit of that. So that is why he has a problem. So you must have people who can do it. But since they are also associated with your campaign, you'll have to find people who can think hard of how to counter cheap propaganda, populist things from UDA, while you are safe not going down. Let me give you a very good example. In the mid 1990s, early 2000, some companies came up manufacturing lethal drinks. You can't mention them, of course. Lethal hot drinks, and they were selling. Breweries had a chance, it was a challenge to Kenya breweries. They were losing a big chunk of the market. What were they going to do? And this is where Raila is. Were they going to drop from where they were, Kenya breweries or East Africa breweries, to come and mix with those boys selling people that look like Changapa and making money? That was choice number one. So does Raila move down up from where he is and join Ruto in throwing populist things? The Raila people know. The other option was you can create something, breweries can create something for the market, because it's a question of cost, without going kwa matope of those competitors. And that's how they came up with something I think called Kenya Ken. They also came up with Senate or something like that. Yeah. Then Keg.
I'm not quite familiar with
those kind of things. I was still in that world those days, before I saw light. So Raila has the same. You don't need to go to the matope where these people are, because then that won't be Raila. You are not going to throw populist propaganda to people. Yet if you don't do something, your competitors will have a field day. And that's why you can see Ruto's message seems to be resonating with the people much, much more than Raila's. So he must look at what breweries was facing and learn you can say things that resonate with the people without going down to the matope where these guys are.
And should he perhaps maybe consider propaganda as a mode of communication?
In politics, you cannot avoid propaganda. By the way, propaganda is not always negative. Propaganda has assumed the negative connotation from its, I think, the 19th century or something like that, especially from Hitler's Germany. But to propagate simply means to spread. And in fact, the Catholic Church for many years had the propaganda ministry or department, to propagate the word of God. But propaganda is used negative, the way you think, the way you are saying. You can't avoid you can't avoid that totally. It's an aspect of propaganda.
Okay.
But today's world has given the communicator tools you can use so that you do not have to engage in propaganda in that negative way. Okay. You can reach the people, touch them without descending too low into cheap populist propaganda.
Okay. Yeah. Now, as we come to the end, a very recent episode that you did with Jadiel, and you are saying that perhaps maybe you could do better as a campaign personnel for the Azimio la Umoja. Maybe is there something that you have seen that they are not doing well when it comes to campaigning?
Yeah, and people have been asking me, if I was given the Raila campaign to manage, I cannot be a small boy there. They tell me, oh, no, I manage.
Is there
within 2 weeks, you'll know, you'll see it. So, order. I'll bring order to the campaign. Order. I'll create structures, departments and committees, functional, and it will be felt on the ground. Within 3 weeks, I'll dismantle all the propaganda from Ruto. All of it. All of it. Bottom up, hustler, what. All of it, I'll dismantle it. And the kind of campaign advertising I'll create that shows where this country is and who Raila is vis-a-vis what our opponents are if I'm now the campaign manager. It will be fireworks.
So you actually feel
within 1 month, by end of June, early July, it will be clear Raila has won by a majority votes. Maybe 2 million clear of Ruto before voting.
So from what you're saying, I'm reading that there's quite a lot that they should do when it comes to campaigning.
They still, but you see, another thing is, maybe they have strategy we don't know.
Okay.
Maybe it's their timing.
They're just waiting for a time.
Yes, maybe. Timing is also important. Even in an election, if you want to run as an MP and you are doing maybe your first time or you are defending your seat, timing. You can have all the money, but the timing is bad. You could also intend to use money in a campaign. So let's not blame Raila and the Huru and the rest of these people. Maybe you want to do certain things, which if you did now, either your opponent, they will see and bust through them, break through them, Or they could paint you wrong. Let's say, for example, you want to use some money and you begin mobilizing people with money. Ruto can quickly turn your campaign into an eating campaign. Those people have money, go and eat. So you have to be very careful. So as we say with a lot of reservations.
Okay.
We give them the benefit of doubt. Maybe it is timing. But if this is all there is, they had better move with speed and look for people who can help them.
Okay, now the issue of conducting interviews on running mates, do you think that that was a big blunder that Raila did?
No.
And people are looking them.
Conducting interviews is a global thing.
Okay.
People like Clinton, Obama, they set up committees to interview running mates, to look for running mates, to not necessarily to interview in public or something, but to look for, to explore, get so and so, talk to him, think about him, background check on somebody. You know, it'll be so bad for you to name somebody running mate. Then it turns out like some of the judges we have.
Okay.
Somebody has been interviewed by JSC with all its tools, including EACC there. Then when the president wants to appoint the man as judge, they realize there's so much scandal. Or some of them who had even gone through that, or the earlier judges. And now they are facing certain scandals. You ask yourself, how did this person, how on this earth did this person become a judge of the High Court? How? So even a deputy president, you can pick somebody, because the person you know, maybe you know him from a very limited sense. So having other people cross-check certain things, find out certain things about even temperament. People hide who they are. There is a facade we create. But the man behind there, you might need to crack the man behind the face you see. And that can come out in an interview. If I'm interviewing you, I can know you are the kind of person you are very easily. I can say something to provoke you. And I say, oh,
and my true picture
well,
comes out.
running mate, utakuwa deputy. So maybe the style of doing it may be different. But in terms of establishing committees or teams to scout and come up with a possible running mate is a global phenomenon.
Now as we wind up the conversation, is there something that you feel the Azimio team needs to look into and address this issue before August 9th election?
No, we have said Azimio is doing well.
Okay.
But we have said we are only hoping it's a question of timing. Because it's so clear even to a child that Ruto's message is resonating more than Azimio. That's clear. Secondly, I have repeatedly said, Ruto does not have the numbers to make him president. They are not there. But the impression outside there is that he has already won the election. You get it? That is dangerous to Azimio. Because the undecided voter may then as well go the other side. But more critically, Raila could win the election and is disputed violently. So you have to stem that. You have to deal with the perception that Ruto is winning this election. Yet he can't win the election. He doesn't have the numbers. Sometimes I've slept almost in the morning cracking these numbers to see how this perception people have that Ruto, where are the numbers coming from? I've looked. They are not there. He cannot win the election. But the perception. So if there's one thing Raila must deal with, is the perception that Ruto is winning. Because he can't win the election. But the perception is there. It will affect him even if you win. Uhuru won in 2017, whatever it was. Legitimacy issues were hanging all over his head. Partly why the handshake came out. You cannot run pretty. You can't sit pretty. Run government. Take lunch in State House and sleep comfortable there when people are shouting Hakie to town.
It's impossible.
It's not easy. Moi said it. Watu wanataka kuwa president. Can they sleep in State House wakati watu wanaruka town wanaimba?
Have you been seeing them sleeping?
So for that reason, Raila must work on this perception, the wrong perception that Ruto is willing, so that when he wins, Ruto simply goes home and Raila begins to run government from day one. It must be clear, because I've told you, the margin now is at about 600,000-700,000. If elections were held today, Raila will beat Ruto by 600,000-700,000. But if the campaign is well run, if I was the one running it, and I'm repeating, 2 million to 2.5. Clear. And nobody can dispute an election like that.
Well, if Raila gets to hear this, what you're saying, he needs to consider you for the campaign.
I'm not
team
dying
leader.
to go. At my age, I'm not dying for a job. I'll be helping them. What can they give me?
They're the ones who are
Money,
benefiting.
what can I do with money? I'm an old man. I don't take meat. I don't eat meat. I don't take sugar. I do nothing. I don't even need money. It is them who will benefit from me.
Okay, that's where we wrap up the conversation for today. Well, I hope your question has been answered. If you have any burning question, you can share with us on the comment section. Well, till we do have this conversation again, enjoy the rest of your day.